Big news out of the Supreme Court. The Chief Justice of the United States of America just issued a rare statement on President Trump's call to impeach the judge in his Alien Enemies Act case. I want to go straight to Paula Reed. Paula, wow, this is a very big deal.
This is a huge deal. Here you have Chief Justice John Roberts appearing to push back on statements President Trump made earlier today, suggesting that a judge, James Boasberg, who of course temporarily blocked deportations by the Trump administration, or at least tried to, should be impeached. And here the Chief Justice writes, "For more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose."
The situation just took a dramatic turn. The Supreme Court has issued a decision that could change everything moving forward. It's an official ruling from the highest court in the country, and its impact is massive. Many believe it has now locked in Donald Trump's legal future. Meanwhile, outside the Capitol, tensions are running high, with chaotic scenes unfolding as people react in real time. Let's go.
Let's go!
This is the moment the storming of the Capitol was launched. The time, 12:53. The first Trump supporters reach the barricades set up in front of the Capitol, demanding to be let through. A handful of cops make a brave stand, trying to hold the line, but the angry mob overwhelms them.
Protesters are pushing past police barricades as the situation spirals out of control. Large numbers of people have already been taken into custody, and parts of Washington now feel like a conflict zone. Despite the chaos on the streets, the legal process is moving ahead with full force toward a result that seemed unthinkable just a few days ago. The Supreme Court has ruled that Trump cannot claim immunity in a criminal contempt case, confirming that Judge Howell's arrest warrant is both lawful and can be carried out.
It's worth going back to some of these oral arguments in April because we to a degree saw some of this coming, with the justices already suggesting presidents need some immunity. So how does this now play out going forward?
Well, this is in no short sense, a big win for Donald Trump. It means delay. We already knew that a trial on these charges would be unlikely before the presidential election. Now it's all but impossible based on today's decision. And I want to just quote for you, it's from the dissent here. This is a Supreme Court that is sharply divided on this issue along ideological lines. This was a 6-3 decision. The conservatives issuing that decision that Terry just outlined. The liberals in this case dissenting very, very sharply in stark language. In fact, Justice Sonia Sotomayor said today that the court gives Donald Trump all the immunity that he asked for and more. She accuses the court of an atextual, ahistorical, and unjustifiable immunity test that, in her view, puts the president above the law.
The situation described represents a powerful and historic moment in the unfolding relationship between the branches of government in the United States. It highlights the tension, responsibility, and authority shared between the judiciary, legislature, and executive, all operating within a constitutional framework designed to maintain balance and prevent the concentration of power. At the heart of this narrative is a central principle that no individual, regardless of their position, is above the law. According to the scenario, the Supreme Court issued a closely divided 5-4 ruling that has far-reaching implications for the limits of presidential power and accountability. This decision emphasizes that a sitting president does not have unlimited authority and must still operate within the boundaries set by the Constitution and the judicial system.
When a president fails to comply with court orders, that action is not simply a political disagreement. It becomes a legal and constitutional issue with serious consequences.
The ruling reinforces the idea that presidential immunity is not absolute. While a president does have certain protections related to official duties, those protections do not extend to actions that involve defying court orders or obstructing the legal system. In this context, the Supreme Court is making it clear that the rule of law takes precedence over individual authority. This is a defining principle of democratic governance and a cornerstone of the American legal system. One of the most important aspects of the ruling is its clarity and firmness. By refusing to block enforcement of lower court decisions, the Supreme Court allowed those rulings to stand. This includes findings related to contempt of court and other violations tied to disobedience of judicial authority. The decision signals that the legal process must continue without interference and that consequences for violating the law cannot be avoided through appeals or delays. The division among the justices also adds significance to the ruling. A narrow majority supported the decision, while a minority expressed concerns about its scope and implication. Those who opposed the ruling argued that it might weaken presidential immunity or expand the power of the judiciary too far. However, the majority ultimately concluded that accountability and adherence to the law are essential, even at the highest levels of government. Chief Justice John Roberts played a key role in this scenario, siding with the majority in support of the ruling. Known for his generally conservative approach and his historical support for executive authority, his alignment with the majority, in this case, underscores the seriousness of the issue. His position suggests that the defiance of court orders by a president crosses a fundamental line that cannot be ignored or excused. The implications of this decision extend beyond the courtroom and into the legislative branch. Congress holds the constitutional authority to impeach a president for high crimes and misdemeanors, a phrase that has been historically interpreted to include serious abuses of power or violations of the law. In this case, defying court orders could be seen as a clear example of such misconduct. As a result of the Supreme Court's ruling, congressional leaders reportedly moved quickly to take action. Articles of impeachment were drafted, outlining specific allegations against the president. These charges include defiance of judicial authority, violations of constitutional duties, and interference with governmental institutions. Each charge is supported by evidence drawn from court rulings, official documents, and public statements. The speed at which Congress responds reflects the urgency of the situation. When the constitutional system is under pressure, the legislative branch often acts quickly to assert its role and address potential abuses of power. In this case, lawmakers are working within a short time frame to introduce, debate, and vote on impeachment articles. This demonstrates how seriously the situation is being taken at the highest levels of government. Political dynamics also play a critical role in this process. While partisanship often influences legislative decisions, there are moments when bipartisan agreement emerges. In response to clear constitutional concerns, according to the scenario, support for impeachment is forming across party lines, indicating that the issue transcends political loyalty and instead centers on legal and constitutional principles. Outside the formal institutions of government, the situation is also having a significant impact on the public. Supporters of the president are reacting strongly to the development, with protests and demonstrations taking place in various locations. In some cases, these protests have escalated into unrest, including clashes with law enforcement and attempts to breach secure government areas. This kind of reaction is not uncommon during moments of political crisis, especially when supporters feel that their preferred leader is under threat. However, such actions can also create additional challenges for law enforcement and raise concerns about public safety. Authorities are tasked with maintaining order, protecting government institutions, and ensuring that demonstrations remain within legal boundaries. The presence of unrest highlights the emotional and psychological impact of political developments. People often feel deeply connected to political figures and can react strongly when those figures face legal or constitutional challenges. This can lead to heightened tensions and, in some cases, actions that cross legal lines. Despite the unrest, the constitutional process continues to move forward. The strength of the American system lies in its structure, which is designed to function even under pressure. Each member of Parliament has specific roles and responsibilities, and those roles are intended to provide stability and continuity. If the House of Representatives passes articles of impeachment, the process then moves to the Senate. In this phase, the Senate acts as a court, holding a trial to determine whether the charges are valid and whether the president should be removed from office. This process includes the presentation of evidence, examination of witnesses, and deliberation by senators. The standard for conviction in the Senate is high, requiring a 2/3 majority vote. This threshold ensures that removal from office is not taken lightly and can only occur when there is broad agreement among lawmakers. It is a safeguard designed to prevent misuse of the impeachment process for purely political reasons. In the scenario described, the evidence presented during the Senate trial is overwhelming. It includes court rulings, official documents, and statements attributed to the president. This evidence forms the basis for determining whether the charges are substantiated. If the Senate reaches the required majority, the president would be removed from office immediately. Upon removal, the vice president would assume the presidency. This transition is outlined in the Constitution and ensures that there is no interruption in leadership. The peaceful transfer of power is one of the most important features of the American political system, providing continuity even in times of crisis. After assuming office, the new president would face the challenge of stabilizing the country. This includes addressing economic concerns, restoring public confidence, and maintaining order. Leadership during such a time is critical, as decisions made in the immediate aftermath can have long-lasting effects. Financial markets are particularly sensitive to political instability. When there is uncertainty about leadership or governance, markets may react negatively. However, once a resolution is reached and a clear path forward is established, markets often begin to recover. Investors look for stability, predictability, and confidence in the system. In this case, the resolution of the constitutional crisis would likely lead to a gradual recovery in financial markets. Confidence in the government would be restored as the system demonstrates its ability to function and resolve internal conflicts through legal and constitutional means. Meanwhile, legal proceedings against the former president would continue. Criminal charges, if pursued, would be handled separately from the impeachment process. These proceedings would take place in the judicial system, where evidence is examined, arguments are presented, and a verdict is reached based on the law. The potential charges in such a case could include obstruction of justice, contempt of court, or other serious offenses. If convicted, the individual could face significant penalties, including fines or imprisonment. The legal process ensures that justice is administered fairly and in accordance with established procedures. At the same time, political parties would begin to adjust to the new landscape. A major political event such as this can lead to shifts in leadership, changes in strategy, and internal restructuring. Parties may seek to redefine their identity and rebuild support among voters. Public opinion also plays a crucial role in shaping the aftermath. Citizens respond to events based on their values, beliefs, and perceptions of fairness. A constitutional crisis often leads to intense public debate as people discuss the meaning of the law, the role of government, and the future of the country. The Supreme Court itself may face scrutiny following such a ruling. In cases where decisions are closely divided, questions about impartiality and interpretation often arise. Critics may argue that the court is influenced by political considerations, while supporters maintain that it is simply applying the law as written. Regardless of public opinion, the court's role is to interpret the Constitution and ensure that laws are applied consistently. Its decisions carry significant weight and can shape the direction of the country for years to come. At its core, this entire scenario revolves around the principle of accountability. The Constitution is designed to ensure that power is balanced and that no branch of government becomes too dominant. When those checks and balances are tested, the system is designed to respond through established legal and political processes. This moment serves as a reminder of the importance of institutions and the rule of law. While individuals may hold positions of power, those positions come with responsibilities and limitations. The strength of a democracy lies in its ability to enforce those limitations and uphold the principles upon which it was founded.